two parts. So Shara Tshuva Perik Ches, and he's dealing here with he says, comparing about Tshuva to a tzaddik gomer. And he said that there's three possibilities. Some Baalei Tshuvas are greater than a tzaddik, some are the same, and some are less. And in the first one, talking about Tshuva, whose Averis were only mitzvah says, says when he does Tshuva, he's equal to a tzaddik gomer. On the other hand, if he did Averis, which he calls kalos, who also says that there's no chorus, then if he does Tshuva properly, he's greater than a tzaddik gomer. And the way he was explaining it was that someone who did an Avera, like I was saying yesterday, it's sort of he got a vaccine. Now that he's done Tshuva, right, he's humbled. He's humbled because he slipped. Did Avera, he's humbled. And by doing that, he has a vaccine now. He does not to do Averis again because humbleness. But a tzaddik gomer who's never sinned, which may or may not have. But yesterday I had a whole discussion here. It's not really relevant, but doesn't exist. But theoretically, tzaddik gomer who never did Avera is much closer to Gaiva. And therefore, he'll come to sin easier afterwards, right? And therefore, so it's to me at least, it's a little bit of a chudash shapshan in b'malchus shabbat tzaddik b'alei tshuva oidim tzaddik and grum yichayim lamoid. But if you follow the way he's saying it, it means in that nisayon, so to speak, in the nisyanis that are about tshuva, zoimedin a tzaddik gomer can't. Because he wasn't vaccinated. He has to be more careful. So to speak, has that vaccine. Okay, that's page Kufnan Dalad. Kolos Baalei Tshuva she'over averis chamuris. Someone who transgressed the serious averis, the hayom mitzvahs loisa says chayavam misa b'dei shamayim, chorus b'dei shamayim, kenchil Hashem shvu sheker. Averis chamuros acheres hadoimus leila. V'aka chosu mehamishkeh shalahem v'oso lehem tshuva shleima. And afterwards they did tshuva. I'll call ikurei prata with tshuva shleima, with all the parts of it. The by tshuva eli yefshel l'stoch idea tshuva b'vad. Right? Quotes the Gemara Numa, the Mishnah Numa coming up. Not enough. Tshuva doesn't do enough. So therefore, Baal Tshuva, even if he's a complete Baal Tshuva, he's going to be less than a tzaddik gomer because he needs more than just the Tshuva process. Ad shem misnasim ba'olam hazeh de isurim shem yochayim lisbo. So they're tested with suffering that they can handle. V'nitarim avnei, but those isurim purify them. So again, he's understanding when he says that this Baal Tshuva is less than a tzaddik gomer. He's saying when he's about Tshuva only because he did Tshuva. In other words, he didn't have the extra things of Yisurim and Misa. And for that, he's not totally cleansed. And therefore, it comes out that he's not at the same place as the tzaddik gomer. Shenema, as it says in the pasuk of L'chadati b'shevet pisham and l'goyim avoinam, that for the Averis, there's going to be suffering. You need for the Avera also Misa for being totally forgiven. Because the Baal Tshuva, he isn't yet totally forgiven, such a Baal Tshuva. So again, so Yoni did mitzvah say, and now again, Rav Matisyo, I see as a theme talks that, there's two parts to an Avera, two things. There's a Shamnu and Bagadnu. Shamnu means that you've in some way damaged yourself, you made yourself Omema. Bagadnu means that you rebelled against Hashem. So the mitzvah say, really, you only have Bagadnu. You didn't do a mitzvah, but it's not like you did an Avera that's Matami. You don't have that Mila. That Madrega. And that's a Bagadnu. Hashem commanded you to do it. You didn't do it. So that's why there, if you do tshuva, so now you're at the same place as the Tzaddik Gomer. You're equal. You didn't have any negative thing. You talk about, well, if you're on the mitzvah, say you didn't do it, you're mavatal it. I did tshuva, so now I'm square one. And they're like the Tzaddik Gomer, I'm just the Tzaddik Gomer. On the other hand, the person who did what he calls Averis Kalos, so there from the Mishnah Yumi understands that those are totally forgiven with tshuva. You don't need Yisurim, you don't need Isa, and therefore when he does tshuva totally, besides the fact that now he's totally clean, he has that added, he says that added gain of nothing that the Tzaddik Gomer doesn't have. And he says Tzaddik Gomer is closer to do Averis because he's closer to Gaif. And that makes the Baal Tshuva better. And that's what it says, and I'm just saying this, I don't know if he means to say that, but to explain that Oimdim means the Baal Tshuva could stand in that test, and that Nisoyan, in that situation, while the Tzaddik Gomer can't stand in that situation because he wasn't like a vaccine. Someone was vaccinated, was able to be freer and go places and do things that someone was not vaccinated. I hesitate to say that that's how he learns Pshat, but in any case, and the third group is the ones who did serious Averas, and like the Gemara says, so they're not totally forgiven, they don't have a total kapara until later on, and therefore they're less than the Tzaddik Gomer who doesn't need a kapara, he's pure, he's okay. Those are the three, the way he understands the three levels of about tshuva. Perik Tes al Shelim Ef Shalatzim Tshuva Kol Chet Eloi. Can you do tshuva? It's a big question. Are there any averis? Sounds like sometimes you learn that there are averis you can't do tshuva. He says, so he's asking that question. Are there tshuvos? Are there averis that you can't do tshuva on? He knows tshuva above. Here's the answer. Averis nachlokis shnei sugim. There are two types of averis. Sug echad averis shbein adon u'malkin levad. Right? Mitzvahs that are bein adon u'malkin levad. Averis. Going hakfira belikim, we're talking about averis. Loisa says being kofer, hihure avera machshavas resha u'mitzvahs loisa sehamutolos haLevavos that deal with you, with your heart. I learned that earlier somewhere, right? Because haLevavos is mainly deals not mitzvahs bein adam lechaver, mainly deals with mitzvahs bein adam lemalkim, because you're talking about your obligations in your heart. It doesn't impact someone else. So it can have ramifications, of course, like the list he gives is kina, sina, chemda, loisachmoid, So of course, if you act under loisachmoid, you're going to take something from somebody else. But if I remember correctly, the actual of loisachmoid is even if you pay. So bein adam lechavero, you're really okay because you paid, but it's bein adam lemalkim, an issur to do that. But how about averis hanasa say they had vorim? There are averis that the whole wrongdoing is only to himself. And the wrongdoing there is just that he rebelled, he went against them. The second part of Averis are those that are Beinam Chaver, that the sinner, the Chayta did wrong to others. Or the gufam, their body's physical, or the ruchusham, to their possessions, or the shmam, their good name. And it's an important point, and we talk about it's also Beinadam L'Makim, right? Because Hashem said it. But the Avera does include Ben Adam Lechavera. Haveres v'chatam shehem ben Adam uben Otkov Bilvad. That first category, Efshal Achoyte Lachs B'hem B'Tshuva Kol Oy Tshu Chai. As long as you're alive, you can do tshuva. I think the Shari Tshuva, when in Shar Shlishi, where they he deals with the kapara aspect of a Naver. So he says that even there, that even Chila Hashem, which has it's mashma, you're not forgiven, at least until you die, you're not forgiven. He does say that if you do Kiddush Hashem as a parallel, as a tikkun, it does erase the Chil Hashem, because I guess by definition you've undone the Chil Hashem by making Kiddush Hashem. So, but the Chosel is saying he doesn't differentiate. He says, Ben Adam L'Mokaim, with Tshuva, you could be forgiven. He says, and the logic says, she asked the Tshuva me'oven ba'isa ofen shechotava. Your Tshuva should be done in a way, in the way that you sin. And what Yochalas says, the Hainu, if you can. In what over alachas my mitzvahs leisasim atolos haLevavos. K'on shoylo deivra. It's interesting what he's including in Averis, right? Before also, here he's saying leivra. What a specific Avera is leivra. Brings the things, but you hear about Chovos Resha, or you had Hihurim of Averis, or al Netira, or you transgress Netira, Kina, Sina. Now all these things are in your heart, right? So they're another Limalkaim.
What's Natira?
Natira is like the Kima. Leisito. That's when you say, you didn't do it, but I'll do it. Nakam means you're holding the grudge. But Nakam is when you say, I'm not going to give it to you because you didn't give it to me. Natira is, even though you didn't give it to me, you didn't forget, I'll be better. I'll give it. Okay. Shiyai part of tshuva is that I'm going to get a leif tov. And I'll be happy to see good by others. And he should be forgiving for what they were doing to him. In other words, part of the tshuva process is to be metaken the ra. It's not enough to say I have charata and you say vidui and I won't do it again. You have to be metaken the ra. I think it says, maybe he's going to say it also, now it's already more not in the lev. If you spoke Lashon Hara, you should be married to speak Divrei Torah. You should use, the Shari Tshuva says, you should use the part of the body that did Averis, right? It's in the 20 subcategories of Tshuva there, is that you use the part of the body you did Averis to do mitzvahs with them. So he's saying, if you used your heart for wrong, you had a leif rad, brought you to Natira, to all these things, a leif toiv. Avera was using parts of your body to go to ochals, mashabaros. They ate treif. And Adam Lamok. Or shechota barayis. Or shechilo Shabbos Moadim. All these have been Adam Lamok. Or shenishbal sheker. Oza tshuva shechilo yois boisei inya roisa dava atzmai. The tshuva has to be with that thing itself. That you work hard to do the opposite. You keep Shabbos, you'll be makabel yourself to keep Shabbos better. Perhaps be more machmer, more covered Shabbos. Shabbos early. I mean, I'm just throwing things off the top of my head, but make a minute to buy one more extra thing for Shabbos to give it covered. Take steps. Used to put on the light, put scotch tape on the lights. Yeah, I don't know. Do things. If it is chashal arayis, so to be distance yourself even further from arayis. Yechavim believe belasa is l'shem elokim, and your kavana and all that you're doing is l'shem elokim. It's close to Epsilon unless it's close one to all of this you can do while you're alive. And you're lucid, when you have that desires to do tshuva, lataris atzmer, but about tshuva says shava rak al verish berad mamakim omo shloim hamelach alav hachochem chachamta loch. What does he say on the bottom? There's a letter here. Yeah. In Nasas chacham b'chazarta b'tshuva, what's it mean you became wise? You realized your wrongdoings and you did tshuva. Chachamta locha asisa toiva rak v'atzma. It's all your gain. You're doing a favor, you did yourself a favor. Avo continues the and so on those Averis, he's saying you can always do tshuva, even though he had mentioned that if you did Averis Chamurus, you need Yisurim, and you need sometimes even Misas Mechaperes. But I guess when push comes to shove, you took care of it. So at the end, you took care of it. However, what's that?
Taking care of it to the best of your ability.
You're also taking care of it because after the Yisurim and after, let's say, after the Misa, so you cleaned. Right. So you're able. There's nothing is Hashem is lost, finished, gone. Much harder to do tshuva for a few reasons, he says. One of the reasons, practically, you stole, you can't find the owner, you can't find the guy you stole from. Or you cry mace, or he died, you don't know the inheritance. The guy, especially today, the person could be on the other end of the world easily. That's one reason. Practical reason. It's hard to do tshuva because you can't correct what you did wrong. What you stole is gone. You can't return it. And number three, perhaps the guy who was ripped off won't forgive you. I guess when you stole, you caused them a bad name. You caused them some physical damage. He's not willing to forgive you. He doesn't even know who he stole from. This is when you steal. You don't know who you stole from. You don't know how much you stole. You stole from a community. You don't know how much you stole. You made a major heist, and there's no way you could pay for it. It's gone, it's spent, whatever, and it's beyond your means. Unless you're going to have to lose a lot of your possessions. It says if you stole a beam and you built it into your house, to do tshuva, you'd have to take apart your house. And that's why there's a thing called takonas ha-shovim. Chazal weren't mechayiv you to take apart your house. They said you could pay instead, even though it's there, it's still his, because to facilitate the ability to do tshuva. Gosa maybe shuvani babira. Bisham says you have to take apart the house. Call up your kula, take it all down. But still, the main marriage provider only has to pay. It's inherently Basil would really agree. It sounds like the Beis Shammai, but he says there's a takonas hashovim. All right, let's stop here. We'll continue. He's focusing here on the Aveira of stealing, and he's going to go on and say that there's other Aveiras that it's very hard to do tshuva on. So such an Aveira, you can't do tshuva. If you can't correct the wrong, you're stuck. Can't correct the wrong, you have a problem. Okay, everybody, have a great